Super Rugby round 5. My niece is here with my kids. They are running around just over there. So if you hear noises, that's what that is. The odds of them being quiet, pretty slim. We'll see how we get on. 4 games on the Saturday. There's 3 teams on the bye. 2 teams on the Friday. So it's a kind of more quiet round this round, same as last round, but still some pretty interesting games. One that's predicted to be a wee bit of a blowout, but the others that are all supposed to be fairly close if you believe the bookies and rugby forecast algorithm. But yeah, we'll get to the games. I haven't had as much time to look at these teams as I would normally like, just because the semester starts next week here in New Zealand, and I work at a university, so things be busy. Plus, 1 case of coronavirus here in New Zealand now. Panic stations. What's going to happen? Some rugby seems to be already affected. Six Nations been affected. Pro 14, I think, is affected. And Super Rugby is going to be affected as well with the Sunwolves. But we will see how things go. Let's get down to it. The first one, Hurricanes against the Sunwolves. When I look at this Hurricanes team, I see no Geordie Barrett in there. Chase Tiatia is playing fullback. So I guess, there's still TJ Perenara playing, so it was maybe a bit of a chance for them to rotate the squad. The Sunwolves coming to town are predicted to get a bit of a hiding. They've had to make their own changes in terms of injuries as well, like Alex Horan. That's a famous surname. He's getting a start at fullback for them, so this is the one that is predicted to be a bit of a blowout. Kind of no surprises there. The Hurricanes at home started poorly to the season, but have really been working their way back into the season quite nicely. So they are coming off the bye, should be well fresh. The Sunwolves are coming off an absolute hiding against the Reds, so in theory it should be a pretty long day for the Sunwolves. Hurricanes by 23 is what Rugby Forecast, the algorithm says, and the bookies go a whole step further, saying Hurricanes by 34. Some of the guys playing, Lamape and Aso is the midfield for the Canes. Perenara's captain at 9. Lomax gets another go tight here, which is good news for the Sunwolves. Like I mentioned, Alex Horan. Dargaville's moved to the wing. It's an all-Japanese midfield with Nakano and Moriya. So that's always good to see. Ogura is number 10, and I don't remember seeing him play, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits in at Super Rugby level. That's a pretty brief look at that one, but you'd be back in the Hurricanes to get that one done, surely. The next one is the Reds up against the Sharks. Both of these teams are coming off wins. The Sharks season, as you can see, 3 wins and 1 loss. And it wasn't a bad loss by any means. Sharks season's been going pretty well. For a team who had to travel 1 week after the comp started, their tour has been good, like 1 loss and 2 wins. If they round off with a 3rd win, then that's pretty much like an A. It's not quite A+ because it's not perfect, but it's the next best thing. So a trip to Queensland, I think, is maybe harder than it looks on the surface. Like, you look at that Reds record, 3 losses and 1 win, the only win being against the Sunwolves, where they gave them an absolute shellacking. But I feel like the Reds, the first 2 performances where they lost, they weren't bad. They lost by, about 7 points each time. So I do feel like there's a bit more to this Reds team, and they had 1 really good half against the Jaguares. It's just the second half they got blown away. So it's 1 bad half they've had, really. Otherwise, they've been not that bad. So it could be one that's a little bit of a tight one, and that's kind of reflected in the predictions. The Reds are 1-point favourites by both Rugby Forecast algorithm and the bookies. So I guess it's that home advantage. The Sharks being at the end of a long tour. But that being said, as I said, the Sharks have looked good value for their points so far this year. They are looking like a much different team from last year. The Reds team looks pretty similar last week. JP Smith, Murphy, Tupou front row, Rodder, Hocking second row, Scott Young, Liam Wright's continuing captain, Harry Wilson's been impressive from 8. Tate McDermott has been one of the stars of the show in Super Rugby this year. He's there at 9, O'Connor 10. So yeah, it's pretty much the same team that really gave the Sunwolves quite the hiding. The Sharks, I mean, if you're looking for that one player that's been an absolute standout for them, you'd have to say Fassi from fullback has been phenomenal. Nkosi's on one wing, Mvovo is on the other. I do not see Mapimpi in the lineup because he is another man who has been an absolute star. Nohamba has dropped to the bench for this one. He's also been a key part of their success. So Schrader starts at number 9, but you'd have to say Noche has been good. So, I mean, Kerwin Bosch has been good. A lot of guys have kind of stood up this year for the Sharks, so they'll be looking to see that continue. But, yeah, I think that one could be a bit closer than maybe it looks. I mean, I would say on paper, but as I said, Reds are 1-point favourite, so it doesn't get much closer than that in terms of predictions. But the Reds in recent years have kind of not been a fancy team, but maybe those odds do them a bit of credit to how their results have been going. The next one, which is the Stormers against the Blues. The Blues at the moment have got a middling record, 2 wins, 2 losses. But the 2 wins are against the 2 teams who haven't had a win. They've beaten the Tars, they've beaten the Bulls. Those teams have been bad. And the Blues only scraped past the Bulls. Not that I'm taking anything away from them. It was a win in Pretoria. I'll take it all day long. But the Stormers are the only team with a perfect record thus far. It would kind of be like the Blues to go in there and get a win against that kind of team. That's kind of what they do. They can mess up a game at home where they're supposed to be clear favourites and yet then go to a top team, not the Crusaders, but a top team outside of New Zealand and get a result. So it could be a close one. Or the Stormers could just keep on trucking along and really grind the Blues into the dust. We will see. There are some interesting selections in this one. The Stormers have got an all-Springbok. I'm sure in Tabini. I need to check it. He's played for the Springboks. At least 1 or 2 caps, right? Kitsoff in Tabini and Lowe. I need to check. Did I say Kitsoff? I need to check if Ntubeni has Springbok caps. It's at least 1 or 2. If that's not what I said, that's what I meant to say. Kitsoff, Ntubeni, and Lowe is the front row. Schickling's there in the second row. Jaco Kutia has been good at number 6. He's still there. Augustus, Peter Tutoy's there. Herschel Yankees has been in great form as well. Number 9. He had a week off, I think. Jamie Roberts, by all accounts, had a fantastic game last week. It's good to see him. Because I felt like from what I've seen of him thus far, it hasn't been fantastic. But apparently last week, which I didn't see apart from the highlights, was very good. So if he can really get up and running as well, could make it a long night for the Blues. The Blues, I mentioned interesting positional changes. So Rico Ioane, who has in his time been one of the world's finest wingers, is in the midfield. And Joe Marchant, who has been in the midfield, is on the wing. So one of my kids is not happy. I can see why. Playing Rico in the midfield. Play him on the wing. It's my daughter. She's upset. So fair call. Hoskins Tutu is still there at number 8. He's been pretty impressive this season. Tupulotu is still captain in second row. Mafaleo Eklund and Tui Nukuafe are our front rowers. We're running out of hookers because we've had 2 of our guys injured. So we are a bit depleted in that area. But we'll see. We'll see how things go. They've still got Perifeta at 15, or Teddy Black at 10. But this week they are not playing Plummer as a starter. They're playing him off the bench. So, yeah, we'll see how the Blues handle things in Cape Town. The Stormers are 6-point favourites by the Rugby Forecast algorithm and 9-point favourites at the bookies. So not expected to get very far in Cape Town. Last one, which is the Bulls hosting the Jaguares. The Bulls need a win. And it doesn't get much clearer than that because they are none from 3, which is a pretty poor start to the season. You drop a game to the Blues, that's about as bad as it gets. Not quite, but yeah, they dropped a close game to the Blues. Gaboka, Fazaki, and Inyakani are the front row, which is a pretty effective lot. And I guess maybe scrum time is one area they will look to really dominate the Jaguares, who have at times been vulnerable in that area, but I feel like are on the improve. Kriya is still there in the second row. He had a good game last week. Josh Strauss made heaps of tackles. Papier, Morne Stein, Speckman, Hendricks, Galant. So there's excitement all over that Bulls backline as well, if they decide to use it. So look out. Maybe it's going to be a high-scoring game. For the Jaguares, Chaparro, Montoya, and Sclavi are the front row. So they, like I said, will have a bit of a tough job. But second row is very good with Petty and Kremer there. They don't really have a reserve halfback, scrum half, because Kobeli is injured. Bertrano's there at 9. I think Ezcura, well, he's back in Argentina from memory. So they don't really have a halfback on the bench. They got Miotti, who's a 10, Malia, who's a midfielder, and Chocobares. So none of those guys are 9s. I'm not sure what they will do if Bertrano doesn't play the 90. But good news is Diaz Bonilla is there at 10. He is back. He's had a bit of an injury layoff. I think he was on the bench last week. So hopefully he runs well in his start. Boffelli, Cancellieri, and Carreras are your outside backs. So, again, on paper, this one could be quite an exciting game. And this is the only one, I believe, where the visiting team is favoured to get the win, because the Jaguares are 1-point favourites by the algorithm and 2-point favourites by the bookies. Everyone else has the home team getting it done. What do you guys reckon? Do you think those predictions from those people are correct? Who are you going to pick in your Super Brew, and by how much? If there is going to be an upset, who do you think it is? Do you think it's the Blues sneaking one in over the unbeaten Stormers? Is it the Jaguares to get one away from home? Can the Sunwolves cause any problems? You guys let me know your thoughts. Drop us a like if you enjoyed the video. I'm going to go help out with those noisy children. And then we are only like 20 minutes away from kickoff on the Friday game. So, yeah, fun times. All right, guys. Talk to you again soon. See you later.